What up, folks? Happy Sunday to you. Happy Sunday to y'all. And I'm a little late. Sorry about that. Just one of those days. But we got a few people here already. I don't know who you are, but you're here. 5 of you. Look at that. It's Nick. Nick's in the house. Just gonna turn on this light back here. Help out the white balance situation. And what's up, everybody? So I just got back yesterday from my little 3-date U.S. clinic run. I had a great time. Had some really nice folks out there in the Omaha area, Council Bluffs, as well as Austin, Texas, and Colorado. A lot of fun. It was really fun. Getting ready to do the same thing over in Europe here pretty quick. I announced some dates this week. Those dates are on my Facebook as well as my Instagram. And hitting the UK and Germany and Italy and Holland, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So looking forward to all that. And Braxall's in the house here with a question. He says, do you get fret wear? And do you have to get fret dressings? And if so, how many fret dressings can you do before you need a complete refret? It's a good question. All my Sirs have the stainless steel frets except for maybe one of them. So those guitars, generally speaking, it's not an issue, you know. Those frets will probably outlast me. I mean, 10 years on one of them, and they might get little pits, you know, on those, the common G string and B string kind of areas. My other guitars are another story. I really like big frets, so then it becomes an issue for me, like as far as dressing, because I don't like it when they get dressed down too low. My Yaren could really use new frets right now, I think, although I've never had a dress done. I'll probably just get a dress done, at least one. And you know, just kind of deal with them being a little lower than when I started, and then, you know, in a few years or something, I'll get a refret. But the nickel frets, you know, it's like I don't know. There's no hard and fast. Everybody plays different with different tension and stuff. Also depends on the string gauges you use and how much you play, and so there's no hard and fast rule. But you know, you should be able to get at least 10 years out of it, I would think, even out of a set and a nice, you know, set of nickel frets. It depends how much you play, though. If you have one guitar and you are a blues player and you're really hard on the guitar and you play it a lot, it's going to be different than if, you know, you have 10 guitars and kind of rotate them and you know, play at different times, which is more. I have more guitars, and it's like my Yaren could definitely use some frets. But take a look at my 335 here. I've had this guitar for a long time, and I don't remember when and it could use frets. Now that I'm looking at it, it's like, whoa, yeah, it's pretty pitted. Some of them, it's funny, you know, I just forget about it after a while. But this one, yeah, this guitar could use. Although, I think that I could get another dress out of them. So it's hard to say. You're going to notice most of the wear on the G and the B string, and kind of usually I find within somewhere between the 2nd fret and maybe the 9th fret or something. I don't really know why that is. It's like you see a lot of people play up around the 12th fret, and they just don't get as pitted up there as they do. I guess just because you're always playing rhythm guitar and chords down here. You know, the number one spot always seems to be the A note on the 2nd fret of the G string gets a real big pit in it all the time, and it gets to the point where you can feel it, you know. Anyway, I'll have to kidnap Sir, you know, kind of like that episode of Trailer Park Boys where they kidnapped Alex Lifeson, you know, and he's in the plastic garbage bags. Nobody's ever seen that. That's what it's going to take. I'm going to have to kidnap Sir and, you know, chain him to a bench or something and give him my guitars and say, you're not getting out of here till you refret, you know, 4 of my old guitars. Anyways, he's actually offered, you know, which I would love to get him to do, but you know, then he said, I'll do it for you someday, you know, and then it's like actually pinning him down could be a tougher thing, I think. He's got so much to do. Anyways, Had a great time at Austin Guitar House, says CSG band. Thanks, man. Yeah, the Austin clinic was great. People asked really great questions. I mean, people in all the places asked really great questions, but Austin was interesting. It turned into kind of like a. Normally, what I do is I do a Q&A at the end of the clinic. After I, in my clinic, I produce up a song and I track the whole thing, and then I'll have time at the end for a Q&A session. And Austin was just sort of, people started asking questions throughout the clinic, and there was, I wasn't really moderating that and nobody else was, but it was actually really cool. And it made me think after, like, maybe this is the way I should just do it, is if anybody's got something to ask, as long as the crowd, if it's a, not too big, it kind of worked and it was really fun. And everybody in Austin I was like, wow, that's a great, like, they would bring up things. I can't remember anything off the bat right now, off the top of my head, but um, they would bring up things that I felt like were really, like, that's a terrific question, and it's like that's adding to the clinic because it's making me explain something that I might have just glossed over. So it was really nice. I had a really good time out there. All great shops. Lots of really cool guitars and amps and pedals and stuff in stock, and great people working there, knowledgeable people. It was a really nice experience. Brexel is asking again, should I get Plek instead of dressing? Well, it's the same thing, but I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Talk amongst yourselves. What are your experience with getting Plek fret dresses? I've only had one done. In LA, there was a guy somewhere around Westwood Music, and this is going back right when the Plek came out, and I had him do my Strat, and it worked quite well on that guitar because it was a problem guitar with kind of a twist in the neck. And it turned out, so into the frets, the Plek kind of dressed to proper, it would have been maybe a difficult thing for someone to do. I'm kind of just a fan of finding somebody great, like, that does it really well, not so much the Plek thing. If you've got a great tech in town, that's my favorite thing. But what are you guys talking about here? Let's see. The chat jumped all the way to the end. I'm going to move around here. Let's see. Robert's up there in Port Perry, Ontario. That's cool. We got Jaws Guitars in Atlanta. Stephen Douglas says he missed last week, and that's the first time since the beginning. Wow, that's amazing, because this is number 82. 82 weeks. So it's been a lot of these. It's turned into a, and a lot of people that I met out of the clinic said that they watch every week, and that just blows my mind. It's awesome. Really appreciate everybody being here. Sunny UK Gary Walker is in. He says hi to everybody, and coming to Orlando soon, asks Kelly. I'm not sure. It depends on, it's generally the clinics are sponsored by Sir, and so if there's a dealer in the area that expresses interest, I'm happy to go. Modern Vintage says, with many artists re-recording their catalog due to the masters being lost, do you expect session or studio musicians to get a resurgence of work like in the 90s? Well, I don't know how many people are doing that. I guess there's probably a fair amount of people, but it's probably going to be the same 6 guys that did all those sessions in the 90s. Michael Thompson's going to get calls. Tim Pierce is going to get calls. No, I don't know. Which is great, as it should be. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have an answer to. Ben Coombs is here. Thanks, man, for moderating for me. I really appreciate it. And Rio says, hi, Pete. You're playing guitar so awesome. Thank you. Today's your birthday. And can I say something for you? Absolutely, dude. Happy birthday. Everybody wish him a happy birthday. Everybody wish Rio happy birthday, and cheers to you, my friend. Health and good wishes. Absolutely. Where in Holland am I going? That's a question from Rick. What did I do with my phone when I came in here? My phone down somewhere. I knew where it was. That's weird. What happened to it? Oh, it's right there. Okay, I'll give you the name of the place in Holland that I'm going, that I'm going to visit. All the dates are on my Instagram page on a post that looks like that, and also on my Facebook if you want to reference it. Holland, it looks like, is the Fellowship of Acoustics, it's called. Diedemsvaart. Diedemsvaart. That's it. And it's kind of around the middle of the whole thing. Looks like around the 21st of next month. 21st of September, I'll be there. And who else we got here? Let's see. Old Guy's Guitar Vlog. Lauren's here as well. Also got music. Good to see you folks. Waiting for the Milan Clinic. Somebody there, Mr. Barbaris in Italy. Yeah, I'll be there for sure. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to getting back to Italy. It's been a long time, 10 years, I think, since I've been there. Slag says, good morning. Stoked for my new PT15IR and matching cab to show on Wednesday. Awesome. Also, any new Tim and Pete episodes coming? We don't have any on the books. I'd love to do something with Tim again. It's just, I honestly, it's so damn busy, man. And I know Tim always is too, but like next week, I got to go to, I got a couple days here and then I got to go to UK for a minute. I'll be there until next Sunday. And so got to talk about that because I'll probably do the thing where I reschedule Sunday to next week to Monday night. I'll do it Monday evening instead. Because I'll be just flying back that day from the UK. I'm going over there to do a TV show. But once I get back, I'm here for about a week, and then I go out again for a whole nother. That's the whole run of Europe clinics, and it's about a month over there. So it's crazy right now until mid-October at least. Is there a difference in tone with solid state or nickel? That's Kevin asking about frets, I would say. Well, the difference is arguably maybe only audible acoustically, like when you've got the guitar unplugged, but I hear this little ping on the note with a solid state fret that I don't hear with the nickel. And it's more noticeable if you had the guitar like with nickel frets and then you switched, or vice versa, one to the other, and then you can listen for the difference. I noticed when I did it on Les Paul that I heard this little difference in the tone. There was this little ping, but I don't know that it comes through the amp. It was just something that I heard on the note, like acoustically. So that was the only difference. That I've never done like how would you direct A/B that? I guess you'd have to have two. Would make an interesting test, but to have two guitars with nickel frets and stainless steel frets right beside one another that are basically the same spec, same pickup, set up exactly the same, and all that stuff, and then A/B them, But it's a, some people would probably say they hear a difference. It's arguable. I don't know. David V is in Toulouse, France, one of my favorite cities in France. I've spent a lot of time there. I love the little Christmas market they do there every year, and I've played there with Milan Farmer and Michel Polnareff and had lots of fun. So it's a beautiful town. Towns in Maryland, Stephen Douglas says he's coming to a clinic there. Yeah, we've got a couple more of these U.S. clinics I'm doing in the East Coast, probably 2 or 3 at least, I think, coming up later in October on the East Coast. So that's going to be fun. Yes, I'll be good and seasoned at it by then. I will have done like 30 of them. Can you measure if the frets need redressing? It's more a thing you just feel. I mean, some guitars with like frets that are fairly pitted, like my 335 still sounds great. I was playing it yesterday. I'm going to play it today on a video demo, and I don't really notice it that much. And then when I look, it's like, whoa, those are getting a little, and it just depends. If you start feeling the pit when you bend and you can kind of hear the string hitting the pits in it, then I guess it's a problem, and it's different for everybody. Hey Pete, will you be popping in on Tone Talk with Steve Vai Monday night? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know he was doing it. That's awesome. I'll definitely be checking it out. That's killer. Pretty exciting that he's going to be on there. I got to see that. I had no idea he was doing it. That'll be a big show. That's good for Dave. Definitely gonna watch that. He's got a synergy module that he's doing. I want to try that. Dave did tell me a while ago that he went over there when they were kind of tuning in the module and just, they basically got it to, because Dave did a lot of the kind of tuning in the modules. So I don't know if people know that, but he sometimes does that stuff for them. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that, but I did. So whatever. Uh, anyways, and he went over to Steve's studio, and I guess it's the Harmony Hut. And when he came back, I saw him actually right after, and he was like, that guy, man. He's like, when he's just sitting there playing guitar, it's like unbelievable. You can just watch him play. Anyways, big frets on just Strat like or also on Les Pauls, says Mark. I like them on Les Pauls too, although because of the 24 and 3/4 scale, sometimes I do, like 6105s is pretty cool on a Les Paul because of that. But I can deal with 6100s on a Les Paul. I like them. I think I mentioned like maybe last week or 2 weeks ago about Jake E. Lee's guitars, which his main Charvel is actually a 24 and 3/4 scale, even though it's like a Strat style instrument. And he uses 6105 from the 15th fret up and 6100 down from there. Pretty interesting. Old Guy's Guitar Vlog says, did everyone see the PT15 ad on Wildwood Guitars? I haven't seen that. I want to check it out. I stopped by there the other day, actually, and I shot a little video for them, both on my guitar and amp. And that was fun. I've never been there. It's quite a cool operation. They're really nice people. And so there'll be some video stuff coming soon from them. Colorado's beautiful. I was only there for a day, but I went to my main clinic was Guitars, etc., and it was really great and beautiful little town where that shop is, and it was just like I don't know. Every time I go to Colorado, I always like it there. Just a nice vibe. Good people. Kind of reminds me of Canada, I guess. Is what it is, honestly. But with its own thing going on. Jasco Plumbing Supply is in the top chat, and he says, Pete, great Sweetwater interview. Well, I haven't seen that yet either. For tube amp care, how long do you let them warm up, and is there a limit for how long you'll keep them on? Well, they say you're supposed to turn them on and let them warm up for 30 seconds or so, and then hit the standby on. I've talked to Sir about it, about especially the power down and leaving it on standby, and he thinks you can just turn them off without putting them on standby. There's nothing wrong with that, but he thinks it's probably better to just. I think I don't want to misquote, but I think his vibe is just, if the amp's going to be not used for a couple hours, just go ahead and turn it off, that kind of thing. That's what he's told me before. Like maybe don't leave it on standby for hours on end and then turn it back on. It might be better to just power it down. But I suppose if you're just got a short set break, 20-minute break or something like that, you could, then that's what the standby switch is for. I don't really worry about it that much. I mean, the warm up thing and stuff, I'll just turn it on. And I say 30 seconds, but I usually hit the power switch and hit the standby on like within 8 seconds on my amps. I just want to get to playing, I guess. I'm impatient. Let's see some top chat, guys. Says Deja Blue. Thank you. Hey, appreciate that. You guys are too kind. I prefer low frets myself, says Ben. That's interesting, Ben Coombs. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends what you grew up on. Like maybe if you grew up playing kind of the fretless wonders or something, or 70s, or if that was what you were comfortable with, and then these big train track frets come in the 80s, that might have been weird. I grew up on my first good guitars were a Kramer and a Charvel and Jet Jackson, Hamers. I had all that stuff before I ever had a Les Paul. So now that I think about it, I've never really thought about it before. But let me see. Did I even own like a Fender? Oh, I had a Fender Lead 3. And I got that around 83 or 84, something like that. That was a pretty good guitar. But it was kind of a weird period for Fender, I still had I remember my going to the music store, and my mom was going to get me a new guitar. And we were looking at a nice cream telly. Like it might have been a Squire. I can't remember, but it was a really nice telly in an early 80s one. those Japanese Squires from then. Japanese made ones were great. Um, and it was either that or the lead 3, and I went with the lead 3. Now I've got the cream colored telly, that's sitting right there back on that stand. But the lead 3 was kind of a weird. It had those weird. I had the one with the 2 humbuckers and the 2 toggle switches, to turn them on and off, and there were the weird shaped pickups. I put a Kaler on it, which probably buggered it up worse than, but it was a pretty neat guitar. I remember I had Yngwie Malmsteen sign it. I met him at a meet and greet. And who knows where that guitar is now, right? It's sitting in someone's basement, or maybe it's in the trash heap somewhere. But anyways, that would be my one sort of Fender that I had before. My first guitars were like Hondo, and I had this weird off-brand Flying V thing, mini Flying V that I still have somewhere. I had a Washburn, and then not too long after that, I got this Kramer that was like an early '80s Pacer. That was a cool guitar. I'd still love to have that guitar, actually. A Hamer Chaparral, one of the glue-in neck ones, I guess, with the boomerang inlays, if anybody ever remember those. But it was pink with a black hardware Floyd Rose on it. And then I got my Jackson, I think, not long after that, which I still have, and some Charbels and stuff. So I had all those guitars ever, but that's what I grew up on, that kind of stuff, before I ever got a Strat or a or a Les Paul. So there you go. Hence the big frets. Rico USA is in the top chat. Thanks, man. He says, "Do you connect your aux box to your amp Pete as a cab?" Yes, that's exactly what I do. So you can play any head through it. It's on one of the outputs, as well as the surreactive load, and then one of the other outputs is feeding cab in the other room. 1, 2, and 3. How do you connect your aux box to your DI and DAW? I take the output of the aux box, the digital out, and I run it into the digital input on the back of my UA. So that's it. And I need a converter cable to do that. It's a SPDIF to Toslink converter that I found on Amazon. It's a little box that the cable plugs in one end, the other one comes out the other end. One end's going to the aux, the other's going to the interface. That's it. So I've always used it digitally in ever since I got it, and it works great like that. What about your Kemper with the aux? I would just do that out of the analog outs. That's the only way I've ever done it. And I use the Kemper on like Pete Thorn 2, for example. Like the solo on the first song, all the lead guitar is my white Sir Classic S with the Kemper and a PT100 profile. And I was using it 4-cable method with the Helix, I think. And I would just take the main outs right out of the back of the Kemper and plug the analog outputs and run them right in XLRs, into my interface. So that's how I did that. But the aux has always been digital. I just figured it's, and I probably should have done that with the Kemper too, but it just saves inputs. So I've only got the 8 inputs on my Apollo here, and I've got them all kind of wired to different mic pre's and stuff like that. And so, I just use the digital in exclusively for the aux, and that works really well. I haven't actually used my aux for a little while, and it's not out of not wanting to use it. It's great. I just haven't, and kind of want to do something with it. I'll do a video demo with it here coming up pretty soon. Use it. Yeah. Alrighty. What else we got here in the house? And questions and stuff like that. BC Rich says, my ESP Les Paul clone has a set of super jumbo frets on it. So do a lot of Les Paul copies, but generally not Gibsons. Yeah, I know, like Doug Aldrich, I think he really likes the big frets and stuff. Talk about cage. How important is it? I think it's a cool way to know the fingerboard. I kind of like it, actually. I think it's a simple way to kind of, visualize the board. Anything that'll help you know where the chord tones are, so you can sort of integrate your lead playing and your melodies and stuff, and make intelligent decisions that aren't just based on patterns, more based on chord tones, is a good thing, I think. So I think it's a good thing to practice, and it's a nice way, simple way to kind of. It's probably the simplest way I've ever seen, any kind of playing over changes, or like a simple way to help teach that anybody can get a handle on, because it's based on chord shapes that everybody knows, right? So I think that's pretty valid. Let's see here. Doofuzz says, in my opinion, some players chew frets like crazy, but it's all down to how you play and guitar setup. And of course, strings is another factor. I tried these Cobalt Ernie ball strings for a while, but then people started reporting on the internet that they were chewing up the frets pretty good, and I noticed that too. Actually, a little more fret wear happening with those strings, although they do sound cool. But I moved away from them and went back to regular Slinkies just for that reason in particular. So it's good. It's, I think probably just about any stainless steel sort of strings or anything that's, the regular nickel steel strings, probably better for the fret life overall. What's my favorite food, says Amit. Japanese food, generally speaking, is pretty solid for me. I love it. I don't know why. It works for me on a I don't know, like on every level. Like I like the taste. It makes me feel good. It never fills me up too much. Like, and I'm not talking about ramen and stuff. I'm talking about mostly like just sort of vegetables, fish. If you go to the Japanese, like one of the, like in any department store in Japan, the food floor, there'll be a food floor where there's like all this prepared foods and stuff, and you can go in there and get all kinds of stuff going on. I'm not talking about anything that's fried or I'm talking more about, like, generally speaking, there's like lots of options in there for veggies and fish, be it sushi or, and like that just works for me. I don't know. But even when I like shabu is great too. I love shabu shabu, and it's that, it's not like you're not eating like a big steak. You're eating these thin slices of, and cooking it in the broth and stuff, and then it's so delicious. I don't know, and there's lots of veggies involved and stuff too. So I just like Japanese food. Excuse me, ramen stuff, because I don't eat gluten, but there's lots of good gluten-free ramen out there now, actually, too, and that's like really pretty slamming. I love ramen places. Yeah. What else we got here? Mark says French frets, making a French fries reference, I think. How can I get thin strat tone from my Les Paul, says Ahmet. Well, it's never going to be. It's such a different thing because the scale length is different, and it's all that mahogany, and it's just a slightly different sound. But if you want to do the easiest thing to get a little bit more, you could use a four conductor pickup of any type and put coil tap pots on it, or series parallel switching, much like Jimmy Page, to kind of get some different thinner sounds. The other option would be like a single coil sized humbucker. So like the P94 style pickup, where it's just a single coil but in a humbucker housing. Lawler has some of those as well. So as well as Gibson and Duncan, I think. So those would be some options. Just kind of looking through the chat loosely here because it jumped all over the place. I have HX Effects, says Jim, and using a Blackstar Artist 15, and he says he's really liking the setup. Yeah, I mean, the HX Effects, I took it and used it on my clinics over the last, I just forgot that I didn't bring it here today, and I kind of wanted to have it here today for something, but that's all right. I'll bring it tomorrow and do what I need to do with it. Thanks for reminding me. I should bring it tomorrow. Anyways, it worked great. It's a real capable partner to a tube amp. They made a great thing there. It's so small. I mean, it's this big, and you can get so many sounds out of it, and it's programmable. There's enough sort of switch real estate on there that you can do fairly complex things within the context of a song and change presets and get some really radically different sounds. So I've found it to be a really good, capable partner to the PT15. And as a matter of fact, for this TV show next week, that's what I'm taking. I'm taking a PT15 Euro spec over to the UK, and the HX Effects, and that's what I'm using. That's going to be my little rig. It's just one show, but who knows? It could end up I'm doing more with these folks that I'm playing with next week, at the start of the year, gonna go over and play a bunch of gigs with them, and I'll be using, PT-15. I don't know if I'll bring my full pedal board or maybe it'll just be the little HX effects. I don't know. It's working really well. So if it ain't broke, why fix it? If it does the job, I'll see how much I can, do with it. And if I feel like it's covering all the bases, why complicate things? Yeah. See you at Guitar Summit, says Mr. Mac. Yeah, I'll be there. Guitar Summit in Mannheim, Germany again. I had a nice time there last year, and it's gonna be fun. That is gonna be fun. Let's see what else we got here. What's a typical day like for you, says Kevin? How much time a week are you spending on YouTube? Well, I try and work like at least I probably should be in here more than I am, but I mean, I work, generally speaking, 6 days a week. My home is a little bit further away than it used to be from the studio, so it takes me a little bit longer to get in here, and sometimes I'm not in till 1 or 2 p.m., and then I'll stay till like 8 or 9, generally speaking, working here. The YouTube thing, it just depends on what I'm doing a video for. On average, the videos take me a couple days to produce. Like I would say on average, they take a couple full 8-hour days. So writing the track and producing up a song and all that stuff maybe takes, 5-6 hours total, something like that. And then it's transferring all the video and editing it and pulling it all into Final Cut Pro and doing all that stuff. And then actually even just like uploading the video to YouTube and sometimes doing those Premiere things that I do. Getting the video up there, putting all the tags in, doing all the things you have to do, that takes a good solid hour, just doing that stuff. And then sitting there and hanging while the video plays and stuff like that. And I like to do that, but it takes like, an hour I might spend an hour and a half or something doing that, getting the video uploaded, I don't spend that much time making thumbnails, but I should maybe more. I've gotten faster at it, but I'm trying to figure out, it's like some people out there on YouTube are so good at the damn thumbnails, like Paul David's, they look like they should be in a magazine or something. But they put a lot of thought and time into it, and it really does actually make a difference. If anybody out there does YouTube, the thumbnail and the title is really important. You can call it clickbait if you want, or you could call it just an attractive thing that somebody wants to click on because they think, oh, that looks like something I want to watch. I don't know. It does something to your psyche. If it's the right photo and the right phrase that seems interesting, that's all it is, So all that takes time to figure out. Yeah. So generally speaking, I might work from noon or 1 in here till maybe 8 or 9 p.m. And I want to get into the habit of actually going to the gym in the morning because I need to get that going again. I used to have a gym where I lived, and I used to go 3 times a week generally. And now like I don't, and I've got a gym membership and I don't go, and I should go because I pay for it and it's good for you. So I need to, I went to the gym the other day while I was out on a clinic tour. I went one day in Austin. I went and got in like an hour at the gym. I was like, okay, that was good. I bridged the gap. Okay. I did it once. Now let's get going and doing this again, so I'm not getting any younger. So none of us are. Okay, what else we got here? Any traction on a Pacific Northwest clinic in Oregon, Seattle, or Vancouver? That's from Doc IC. Not that I've heard of, but they might have things going. I'm going to go there tomorrow, actually, so I'll ask them what else is coming up. We need to schedule some stuff because there is some stuff coming up on the East Coast. And yeah, so I'll see what I can find out, but you'll know as soon as I do, for sure. Let's see. Johnny says, "Hey Pete, destined for distortion from Koreatown. Please don't neglect your noodling." Oh, I meant to answer this. Inskane Music says, "Plek, what's up with the Plek? Is it worth it?" Well, it's debatable. The Plek is essentially a machine that you put the guitar in. It's a computer fret dresser, and it analyzes the fingerboard in ways that a human being just couldn't, and sights all the way down the neck and looks at all the because a neck isn't a perfect thing, and it analyzes, and then it actually does the frets. It does the fret dress for you. So it's a, automated fret dress is essentially what it is. Like I say, talk amongst yourselves. Who prefers it? What's your experience with getting? There's got to be some of you out there. I've only had one done outside of this Sirs. They have a Plek, and many of my Sirs are Plecked, but some of them are done by hand as well. Like for instance, John's not all the auras. Those aren't Plek. He's doing the frets himself. He does every fret dress by hand, and he's a master at it. So, you know. Okay. Let's see. I'll move down here through the chat. Oh, somebody's up there in the top chat. It's Tom, and he says, "Do you think YouTubers edit their stuff for creative control, or is editing costly to outsource?" It's kind of fun, the editing. I mean, it's part of making the video. It's a creative, fun thing. Some people probably enjoy it more than others. Other people probably don't do their editing. Like everybody's different. So some YouTube people might do it, and they might have. Tim Pierce doesn't do any of his. He just from the beginning had somebody else doing it, and I think probably a lot of people are like that. Other ones, just like for me, I had to, because I didn't know how else, and it was really just an organic thing where I started making these videos and was like, I don't know, I got this thing called iMovie on my computer. Let me see if I can figure it out. Oh, there we go. And then it spit out the video, and then I uploaded it to YouTube. And then I've always done it that way. I have had other people edit some of my videos though, over the years, like occasionally. And it works out really good, actually. It's just sometimes like with specific things, like in my videos, for example, I want like certain text. Like if I'm trying to explain the controls on a pedal, I want, to explain that what I'm doing is flipping on a bright switch, or that I'm adjusting something. If I'm looking right now at the Revival Drive Compact from Origin Effects, which is awesome, by the way. They've got a small size Revival. Oh, I can't pick it up because it's here. Let me take it out of my crazy pedal vise here. This I'm making a video of today. Come hell or high water, I'm getting it done. But that's the pedal. This thing's amazing. It's the ultimate. I mean, they're the king of the hill as far as a great plexi kind of drive. It's really sounds great. But anyways, there's some specific controls on here, like this 3-way switch here that allows you to tune the pedal to what you're plugging it into. And then this kind of contour control here, as well as like this control here, which is kind of I believe the control that emulates ghosting and that kind of thing. So I'm going to want to say specific things about that stuff in text that it's just too difficult to, if somebody's editing the video, they're not going to know exactly what I want to say about that stuff. So at that point, I need to do some editing anyway. So, it's worked for me to kind of have people like loosely edit the videos to a point. And then I get in there and do, a half an hour work right at the end, and just the certain text I want and things. That works pretty well. It's sort of a love-hate thing. Like I do actually enjoy it sometimes, and other times I'm like, oh, this is grueling, like doing the editing. But overall, I pretty much enjoy it. Mr. Tavares is up there in the top chat, and he says, Pete, how different is the sound of your demos when you upload to YouTube after the compression? This is funny because maybe, I don't know if you saw this, but I was commenting in a post on the gear page yesterday about this. There's a thread in the amp section on the gear page about YouTube compression. And it's like a thing where a lot of people say a lot, it's a popular thing to say, oh, YouTube compression, you can't tell from a demo about anything because YouTube compresses and it wrecks the sound. I just don't subscribe to that at all. It does change the sound a little bit, but it's not that different. And what I suggested was, if you want to hear the difference, go on YouTube and watch my video that I did with the song I did with Laura Basilio and Tim Pierce called In Good Company from Pete Thorn 2. Listen to the video on YouTube, and then go on a good, either iTunes or something that streams, it sounds decent, and listen to that. Or if you have the CD, listen to the song on the CD. And there's the difference. You can directly A/B the difference of the same song on YouTube and on, Spotify or iTunes, or if you have a CD and it's 16-bit 44.1 full wave. you'll know what it sounds like. When I upload, it's a 24-bit 48K wave going to YouTube, and when I'm watching in HD 720, or I'm now doing 1080 with my videos, it's a really great representation of what I upload, generally speaking. Um, I'll hear a little bit of stuff in like symbols sometimes. I mean, like Instagram's worse. Facebook, it was always notoriously bad for uploading things. Sometimes Facebook just mangles the audio and it sounds just like hell, you know. But I don't know if that's gotten better or not. Um, but anyways, you know, in my mind, it's like somebody mentioned like in the gear page thread, like that they felt like you know, the difference between bridge saddles. Say you've got Graphtec saddles and a traditional bent saddle or something. Are you going to hear that on YouTube? I don't know. I mean, that's a difficult thing to hear, maybe unless you're in person playing the guitar. But the difference between a fuzz pedal and the controls on it and stuff, and getting the overall character, or even an amplifier, as long as it's recorded well, there's way more concerns than the YouTube compression, which is how it was recorded, you know, and the way that people are doing their videos. I tend to record my videos using the tried and true, you know, microphone on an amplifier, or if I'm doing impulse responses, I try and give you the type of recorded sound that we're used to hearing for the past, you know, 50 years of, you know, music, like where, you know, an amplifier's got a microphone close on it and that's the way it sounds. All the great guitar sounds that we kind of reference were done that way. You know, it wasn't a mic in a room. Sometimes, I mean, if it's like Brian May guitar sounds or Jimmy Page, sometimes, you know, it was roomy, but there was always some close mic element involved in all the great guitar sounds. So to me, that's how everybody's listened to all these tones anyway. Um, the amp in a room thing is, I think sometimes like, uh, I get what people are going for. They're like, well, this is the way I play and this is the way I want to hear it. It's just difficult because, you know, and no two rooms sound the same. So how's that going to be an accurate representation? You know, your room at home is going to, if you take your amp out of your room at home and you put it upstairs in the bathroom, all of a sudden it sounds silly. Oh, this amp sounds like shit in here because I got a tile floor and downstairs I got carpet. So it's not a representation of anything other. So the close mic on the cabinet and the way that guitar sounds have been recorded since kind of the dawn of time is to me the most accurate representation and sort of like reference point for, you know, if somebody's like, well, what's a Plexi Marshall sound like? It's like, well, let's close mic a greenback, and, you know, everybody from AC/DC to Van Halen to the Ullmans to, you know, it's like that was always the tonal point of reference. It wasn't how an amp sounds in any one specific room or something. So I hope that makes sense. And that's a bigger factor, how somebody gives you that recorded audio. You know, I don't think a mic in a room is a measure of anything. You know, mic back like a. Some people say they like that. You know, oh, I like the, like a guy commented on the thread yesterday. Like the more he was commenting that he liked this video that I did of a Comet Concorde, which is maybe the very first thing I uploaded to YouTube. But I still did it the same way. I close mic the Comet Concorde with a 57 and a ribbon. I remember doing it. I had a PreSonus interface and I recorded the tone, and then I made a video where I was probably using the internal camera on my iMac to record the video, and that's the sound of that Comet Concorde video. Way back in 2006, I think. Um, he commented, it's one of my favorite things because it's not as produced. And I was like, there's no difference with what I'm giving you now, other than you get a track at the beginning of the video. When I play, as I always do, isolate the guitar parts outside of the song later in the video, there's no more production going on to the track. It's what I do is when I do a song, because you kind of have to, I use a little bit of compression, a little bit of master bus EQ, and a little bit of limiting just to get the song, so the song sounds like a good song, you know. But I do very little EQ on the individual tracks, and then when you hear the guitar parts isolated later in the song, none of that stuff is on there. I take any of that little bit of fine-tuned polishing stuff is gone, and you're just hearing the raw recorded file. So I've got a cab in the other room that's mic'd with a 57 and a ribbon. It's no different than that Comet Concorde video back in 2006. And the fellow who was being nice, but he was just saying he liked that video because there was less production. It's actually exactly the same. You're just hearing a close mic'd with a regular old $80 SM57 and whatever on a greenback, which is what I've always used. and I'm giving you the exact same thing that I did back then. And it's getting uploaded to YouTube, and YouTube does a little bit, but the guitar sound is so low. You know where I hear the compression is on the cymbals and stuff, like any kind of anything that's loud and high frequency stuff. You get that little bit of weird aliasing or something that goes on in the top end. That's where I hear whatever happens with YouTube and with any kind of compression. If it goes to MP3 and stuff, I hear the cymbals with the shitty kind of washy thing that it does. I don't know how to describe it. Somebody's up in the top chat, and boy, did they ever. Hey, I really appreciate that. That's the Batigues, and you are too kind, man. Oh, you came to the clinic in Colorado. Hey, man, you're too kind. You say you don't charge nearly enough for the advice and knowledge you share. Keep rocking on. Oh, man, thank you. Hey, you're a gentleman and scholar, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for doing the top chat. I have thought about. I get a lot of questions. The fun thing about this is when I started doing these videos, these live stream videos, it was great because in the past I'd done Q&A. Some of you might remember that, where you asked me a question on Facebook, and then I'd read some of the questions in a video, and then I'd post the video. And as you probably remember, if you've been around since then, it wasn't a very efficient way of doing it, because you'd ask me a question on Facebook, and 6 months later I might get to it, because in my Facebook emails, the messenger, there would just be questions and questions and questions, and it would just be tons, and it would fill up, and I could only do 5 or 6 in a video because I take so long on each one because I'm long-winded. And it wasn't an efficient way of doing things. And there's only so many hours in the day, and my Facebook still fills up. I get a lot of questions on there from people. Which pedal would you recommend? The hot cake versus this one, or I'm looking at speakers for my Bogner oversized 212, and I don't know whether to get the Eminence such and such, and it's a lot of questions like that, and plenty of questions about probably the most common one is, what's better, the Helix or the Kemper? So it's just not possible actually for me to do them all, which is why this has been a great thing, and it really works well. But I do have a Patreon, and I have thought about, with the Patreon, maybe there's a way I should be devoting some time to it and doing some sort of like consultation thing that's more targeted for specific, be it studios, live rigs, that kind of thing, and I could devote more time then, because it's Patreon, and there would be some sort of monetary thing involved, where it's like, okay, this is somewhat of a job that I'm devoting some time to, and it would be like kind of maybe like a more efficient way to do it. So I've thought about that, and I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think it's an angle for me, because I do exist in this kind of unique space where people ask me a lot of questions about, what do you think about this particular thing for my rig? Yeah, so that's something I thought about. Anyway, the Batigues, thank you so much for doing that, and thanks for coming to the clinic in Colorado. I appreciate it, and that was a good time. Colorado was kind of like a smaller one. It was more like intimate gathering, and it was awesome. Everybody was super cool. It's a great store, and I had a really good time that night. It was funny. I was tired before the clinic, and I went and got a coffee, much like I did now, and like I do when I talk about this stuff. And I got just wired. I felt that, and I remember telling everybody, like, man, I am flying right now. Like, I got a coffee at the place on the corner, and with oat milk. I got an oat milk latte, and I was just like talking for the whole clinic. So, anyways, it was a fun one. Yeah, and let's see what else we got here. Love the idea of the invincibility of stainless, says Adam. Yeah, it is nice, with the stainless frets, not having to do the dresses, and that's a good thing for sure. Imagine made of gold, says what's your name? Joe Henry. Oh god, I wish I could see better. I'm sorry, but anyway, I think there is some gold frets. Aren't Jaskar? I got to look that up. Isn't there like a gold fret wire? Jaskar fret, something like that. Gold frets. I want to look it up really quick. Gold fret wire. It's at least like gold plated or something like that. Stumac fret wire. Let me see. Gold GD 6150 for I don't know if it's actual gold, but there's something listed here on the Warmoth site about it. What is it? Our beautiful gold fret wire is nickel-free copper alloy, similar in color to 12-karat gold. Okay, so it's copper, but that's interesting. And you can order that from, what size is it? Oh, it looks like you can get it 6100 or 6150 from Warmoth. So that's interesting. Jaskar fret wire. They also do some sort of gold, I think. I'm just looking here to see them on their website now. Super finish surface quality for a bright appearance and smooth finish. I believe that's what Sur uses. Oh yeah, they're gold Evo alloy, it says. So you can get it in traditional 18% nickel silver, stainless steel, or gold Evo alloy. So yeah, Jaskar. That would be jescarguitar.com. Check that out. They've got some different stuff going on for frets for sure. Crazy out there, this golden age of guitar that we have. That was no pun intended. I'm such a dork. My acoustic frets are really pitted, says no cover charge. Crown and polish, I'm hoping. Yeah, you know, on acoustic, I don't really mind the frets being low that much. It's not such a big deal to me. So yeah, get a nice dress done. And somebody else asking about gold fret wire. I guess it depends. Oh, you know what? I think the frets on my bass are that gold stuff. Let's check it out. Now that I think about it, look at these. Yeah, it's exactly what we've got going on there. Now I don't know who makes these, but they're beautiful, and I love this thing so much. It's so cool. Who watches 70s TV? This thing is so great. It's, yeah, you guys have probably seen this before, but anyway, with gold hardware, obviously those frets look cool. These more look like maybe it's that, I don't know if it's gold or if it's Warmoth will probably say on their site exactly what's going on, but no, Warmoth, sorry, Warwick probably say on their site. This instrument is so, I mean, it's like those tuners, the way they're done with those buttons are just gorgeous, you know. So it's just a monster, this thing, and it sounds like a, let's not sustain. Listen to it. You can go get a bite and come back, and it'll still be going. It's crazy. Whole thing just vibrates like a, and it sounds so monstrous with distortion. It's fun. It makes me want to play bass. Like I'd love to get a tour doing like playing bass. It's so great. Let's have like a simple rig. It'd be fun. John's in the top chat. Didn't ask a question. He's just up there. John Heath. He's a good man. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Ben Coombs says, I like a fat humbucker at times, but mostly I play tellies for that single coil spank. Well, the telly with its fat kind of bridge pickup is a great thing. You know, you can get that clarity and also get some of that. Tellies are just cool for that reason. Yeah. Gold is too soft, says Adam. Yeah, but I think the formula, like whatever Jaskar uses, is, you know, it's not just gold. It's got something else in it that keeps it, you know, from pitting too quickly. Fretwork is fun, said nobody ever. Says Gooby Tuber. Yeah, fretwork is a pain in the ass. I did a fret dress once. I had the stuff, like the files and the whole 9 yards, and it's just like, I saw my friend Brett Simons the other day. He plays bass in Chicago now, actually, and he was doing a fret dress on one of his basses. It was like he bought a like a Harmony or something like that, one of those hollow bodies, and I didn't know he did his own fretwork, but it stands to reason. It makes sense because he's kind of a handyman kind of guy. He likes doing all the work on his homes and stuff like that. And he had the Harmony, you know, with all the stuff, and anyway, he was doing fret dress, and I remember doing that, and I wasn't very good at it either. It didn't turn out that great. So, you know, I remember just thinking, this isn't for me. I should leave this up to the professionals. Oh God, every now and then I wear these contacts, you guys, that are they're called toric lenses because I have astigmatism as well as nearsightedness as well as all kinds of problems. But my my contacts, basically, it's like a focus on a camera, where with the toric lenses, they turn like, and they're supposed to be weighted, and they turn in your eye, and it's kind of like focusing a camera lens. And every now and then it just focuses perfectly, and I can see. There's such a pain in the ass. I was like, whoa, all of a sudden I could see the chat perfectly, and then it kind of moves. It's so frustrating. It's always like 5% off, where it's supposed to be. Buzz says that he has a luthier in Colorado who used 1/4-inch stainless steel dowel rod and milled down one side to make his frets. That sounds like complicated, but he sounds like he knows what he's doing. Apparently, he has some YouTube videos. You say his name is Todd Keene. Interesting. Somebody look for Todd Keene on YouTube if you're interested in that. The dude making his own frets. That sounds like a lot of work, but interesting. Obsidian says, "Hey Pete, thank you for everything you do for us. What is your favorite clean amp for studio recording?" Well, I've used my Surs, exclusively in here because John loves good clean sounds, and he knows those old, Fendery tones as good as anybody, and he's so serious about it. So either that Hedgehog up there sounds just incredible. The Bella is great too. There was something wrong with the tubes in my Bella, so I had it fixed, but it's sitting outside the door, and I actually took it and got it retubed. Now it sounds great, so I got to plug it in. But the clean channel in the PT15 is a Bella clean channel, so I essentially have it with the 6v6 power section, and it's been my go-to, forever. I still use my old Bassman sometimes, but to be honest, my Surs just sound better to me. It sounds good. I like it more broken up. But for a clean sound, I don't know. I just don't. It's not my favorite in here. The AC30 thing is great, and I have that divided by 13 back there that I've sort of since I've had it for years, but I've rediscovered it. I do love it. So that I'll use for the AC thing sometimes. And my favorite way to do that these days is into the aux, into the Honkin' Silvers preset that it comes with. The aux has this great Alnico. It's one of the best speaker cab sims in the aux. Is the 212 with Alnicos, and it sounds just killer. So try that Honkin' Silvers preset if you have an AC30 and an aux. It's so good. So if I'm going for that thing, I'll do that. What else do I do for cleans? Traditionally in the studio, for a long time, I used a deluxe reverb, like a 60s deluxe reverb is a great thing. So it's always, hard to argue with. It's a great sound. What else? I don't know. Sometimes I'll use plugins because they just work and sound really good. The PT100 plugin has a great clean channel on it, and it sounds just really cool. And the traditionally another plugin I used a lot was the Dirty Shirley on the low gain, the master cranked, and the this is the UA Dirty Shirley, and the gain up about on 2. And you can have all the tone controls on 5, and then maybe just bring up the presence and the treble a bit. It sounds amazing. Many times when I was doing demos for videos for like a delay or like a rotary pedal, I would put 2 of those on the inputs 1 and 2 on my UA interface, and then I would hard pan those and then just run the delay into them, and you get this massive spread, and the clean sounds amazing. Whatever it pulls up on that plugin, the UA Dirty Shirley sounds great. So that's something I would commonly do. Chris Cam is in the top chat, and he says, at the Colorado clinic, did you say you recorded bass track with your guitar? Also, what was that magic plugin, the one knob button one called? Bass track with my guitar. What I did was in my clinic that I'm doing now, I developed this new track, and I'm using fuzz. It's a fuzz and an octave shifted down, so it's in the bass range, but I'm playing it on guitar. And it sounds kind of like baritone guitar or something like that. But I'm just using the octaver in the HX effects set 100% wet with a fuzz tone. It sounds like fuzz bass. So there's a bass track on the song, but I came up with this other thing that's guitar, but it just sounded really cool, I thought. So I did it. Harley is in the top chat, and he says, Pete, your demos help a lot. Thank you for those. I just bought the NuX Cerberus and Nemesis delay because of them. Oh, cool. I feel that not all overdrives and distortions sound good with strats. Would you agree? Yeah, single coils are kind of tough, because you get that they're a little spikier, and not all overdrives and distortions sound good with humbuckers though either. a tube screamer and a Strat is, of course, a classic thing. A Klon is great with a Strat because both those overdrives will thicken up pickups. So they're both great. A Klon and a tube screamer do a mid-fat thing. They don't have flat mids. They've got fat mids. So with single coils, they're classics for a reason. Fuzz is the same way. I mean, when we think about Hendrix, and like a fuzz face does that over fattening, flattening kind of sound. That it's not really like mids. It's more just this huge overall warmth, fuzzy thing that does a cool thing with a single coil. That sometimes with a humbucker, a fuzz face could be like, it's like just kind of like lack of clarity. The single coil gives it just a narrow enough sound that like the fuzz will still cut a little bit. So it just depends on the instrument, I think. You've got a nice overdrive in that new X Cerberus. It's based on I believe on the JHS Angry Charlie, which is kind of based on a Marshall Governor, I think. So that the new X Cerberus had a good overdrive in it for a kind of all-in-one box. It's a pretty cool little effect unit for sure, I think, that thing. Yeah. Let's see. What's your signal chain from the line out of your PT15 to the Apollo, says David. What plugins do you use on the UAD interface? I've done it a few different ways recently. Sometimes I'm coming out of the TRS output on the PT15 and running into like my Maris mic pre over here, and then I come out of the Maris right into my UA line out. The Maris has I guess it's a transformer and stuff in it. Maybe changes the sound a little bit. But I've also done a lot where I'm just coming right out of the line out of the PT15, running right into the UA. And I've, occasionally, I guess you could put like one of their plug-in mic pre's on the input strip if you wanted, then tweak it a little bit and drive it up a little bit, see if it fattens the sound or whatever. It was just experimentation. More often than not, I'm running literally right into the line input on the back of the UA, straight out of the PT, and then just recording it right into Logic, and that's what you're hearing. Because essentially you're getting the sound of mic pre's and all that stuff baked into the impulse response. So that's already going on. So anything more, you're just kind of adding to that. When you make an IR, it's getting it's not getting distortion characteristics, but it's getting tonal characteristics of a mic pre, and as well as the proximity effect and all that good stuff. So you don't really, you can really, since the early days of the Sur reactive load, when I started using it many years ago, even the first prototype, I should show you guys the prototypes I have. They're somewhere in here. And there were these like aluminum boxes that are just these kind of like funny things that they made originally. And I would just take the, 1/4-inch line out right out of it and go right into the back of my line in on my UA Apollo. And that's why I did so much stuff. If you go back and listen to that SL67 demo, that's how I was doing it. Or the song, The Groomed Noodler, when I recorded with the 335, and that was line out right into the interface. Nothing else going on. Yeah. Let's see. Somebody else is up there in the top chat. It's Randy Wilcox. Thanks, man. He says, hey, sorry I'm late, heading to work and on the subway. Thanks again for help. Zach's guitar arrives on Friday. Well, have a good day at work, man. And thanks for doing the top chat. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Have a good subway ride. I'm a fan of public transportation. You know I am. Or maybe you don't know that, but I am. I had a little Twitter argument with somebody recently because I got an electric car. And they called me out and they were like, if you think getting an electric car is good for the environment, then that's hilarious or something. I was like, anyway, but we had I kind of had it out. And at the end of the whole thing, I won't rehash it now, but I was like, you realize you're arguing about like you're arguing about the environment with a guy that drives an electric car and takes the metro as much as possible. I mean, I feel like I'm one of the only people in LA on the metro all the time. I love it. It's pretty gnarly in spots. If anybody lives in LA and they never tried it, it's pretty cool. I don't know. I just spent so much time over the past few years in like Paris and also in Tokyo. And I love, I would buy a I bought the bus pass in both Metro Pass in both Paris and in Tokyo, and I used it constantly the whole time I was there. I adore it. It's great. It's just less stress. I don't see so good, and it's like, cars for me. It's like I just don't drive that much. I mean, my last car I turned in, it was a lease, and I turned it in, and I was way under the mileage, and I only did 10,000 miles a year. I think I was 5,000 miles under when I turned it in. So I don't drive a hell of a lot. I don't really like it that much. That said, I got a killer car now. I do love it, but it's fun. Makes me want to drive. But at least I'm not, buying gas anymore. So I don't know, which feels great, both on a financial level. It's amazing. It's like, damn, you just don't have to do that anymore. And once you do it and you try it, it's like, this is addictive. It's just cool. But anyways, hi Pete, have you used the Empress Overdrive, and what are your thoughts compared to the Heavy? I haven't tried the Empress Overdrive, but I've never played a pedal from Empress that wasn't Rulin. Like that Heavy is great. That was one of the best distortion pedals I've tried in ages. All their pedals, the tape delay is killer. They just know how to make pedals. They don't put out anything bad as far as I've liked them all. Tom says electric can help to break up oil conglomerates. A great thing. Yeah, I mean, anybody see that video from the woman in Denmark? I don't want to get political. God, I don't want to get political in here. So I shouldn't even bridge that. But it is kind of funny. It's like, there's some great shit going on these days with like, there's all kinds of ways to make power. I didn't know, but I looked into it when I was getting this car. California is already at 35% renewables. And, I think it's 35%. I don't want to talk out of turn. It's 35% renewables, and then a huge chunk of the rest is natural gas and nuclear. Very little sort of like coal-fired power plants. I think it's like below 10%. Somebody's going to quote me on that, and I'm going to be wrong. But I saw a great chart, and I did put it somewhere. I copied the file. I was pretty impressed. They're actually at 35% renewables already, wind and geothermal and all that stuff, which is terrific. I don't know. When you fly over the U.S. and you look down on it, and you just look at all that open space, wind turbines and solar panels, it's like it's got to happen. I don't know. It just seems like not only do I look down there and see all that open space, but it's like I see the economic. I mean, how can it not be as it comes down and down and down? And how can it not be just an economic boon and jobs, that can be created? I don't know. I don't see a downside. It's like if you can, get people involved and they can get new jobs, make money, train people, seems like a good thing. Talk amongst yourselves or don't. I shouldn't have brought all that shit up on this show. It's a minefield. But I don't know. I think it's all positive. It's good to talk about things, isn't it? What else we got here? Putting up a pot of coffee and going for a smoke, says Joe. Do I have pets? Dude, that's Amit. I would love to have pets, but I don't have any right now just because I'm always traveling and stuff. But man, I'd love to have a cat or a dog. I really would at this point. Kind of almost like leaning more towards dog zone these days. I see them now. Just I don't know. It's been a long time since I have a fear of it though too, because it's so painful when they go away. It's like I don't know, but I guess that's life. I shouldn't be depriving myself of that kind of thing though, because I would love to. I don't know, just figure it out somehow. Get a pet one of these days. Yeah. I can't tell you how many drunken jams the amp stayed on all night, says no cover charge. Yeah, that's okay, though. That's what they're for, It's really just tubes, It's good to use the amp, I think, It's good to use them and just don't, abuse them too much. But there's nothing wrong with leaving them on and, grinding them out. I mean, when you take it in for service, it's like they might do filter caps every 10 years or whatever, and beyond that, a little bit of maintenance, they'll go forever. What else we got here? Let's see. Any just bridge pickup user only, says Joe. I spent a lot of time only using a bridge pickup, but I love using all positions now. I really do. I still love my black guitar that's here with the single humbucker and the bridge and stuff. I love doing that. There is the whole argument. This is an interesting thing we've never talked about on here. The whole argument about like an Esquire or a P90 Junior or something like that sounding better than a Telly or a Les Paul Special because they don't have that pickup in the neck or the magnets pulling on the strings. And of course, on a Strat, there's the whole Stratitis thing where the guitar starts to lack sustain, and also it'll pull the strings out of tune when the neck pickup's too high, and you can actually look at it on the tuner and see the tuner going like this, because that's that magnet pulling on the strings. So I know Phil X has some strong feelings about that. He likes single pickup guitars because he feels like they just sound more open and ring better and have, and especially a P90 is a pretty, strong thing in the neck, I guess. He uses P90s a lot. Anyways. Pyro Pedal says, yeah, I'm coming to see you at Peach next month. Please, can you bring some copies of Guitar Nerd so I can buy one? Yeah, I am going to bring some. I don't have that many left, but I will bring some. And they're kind of heavy because they're in the old style case. And they're not so much heavy as they are just, they take up a lot of space. But I'll bring some, and Peach is the first clinic I'm doing. So I'll definitely have some. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Thanks for saying you're coming to that. It's gonna be fun. I love that place. It's a beautiful, beautiful shop. So it'll be good to get back there and do some playing. I got a brand new track. Anybody that came to the Peach Clinic last time, that was one of the reasons why I actually made a new song, new track, and kind of started using the HX effects. And now I got the PT15. So if you did go to the former Peach Clinic, there's going to be some different stuff in this one, different tones and stuff. So come on out again. It'll be a different thing. Same thing as the Guitar Summit Clinic. I did that last year. But I'll be doing the new track and stuff and talking about a few new things in there and showing how that HX effects integrates really beautifully with PT15. Roberto says, do you plan on releasing your Helix presets? He's up in the top chat. Thanks, man. I definitely buy your stage ready preset with snapshots. I bought a few in the past few months and used them live with moderately okay results. Yeah, I'm totally down. They've got the Helix Marketplace thing up and running, I think, and it's just a matter of it's like when you ask me, I remember, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do that. And it's just finding the time, I feel like I'm at the point where I need a manager or something to tell me what to do every day, because it's like I'll come in here and go, I'm gonna do the Origin Revival Drive video today, come hell or high water, and I'm not gonna answer a single email or do anything else until I finish that. There's other pedals I got to do. The Seafoam pedal right here called the Trident. That's going to happen too. I've got a Dookie Drive here from MXR. This is cool. This thing's fun. Actually, it sounds like the album. And some other stuff I can't show you here. I almost grabbed that, but that's top secret still for another month. So I'm not showing you. But yeah, it's like I tune everything out, because if I don't, I won't get anything done. If I start answering emails and you know what I mean, and taking on too many projects. So one of the things is like, let's get some Helix presets going, and it's like I just have to set aside the time and then say, I'm not doing anything else today. I'm just doing that, and then I'll get some done, and it'll be a good thing. And that is just something that I should do. I should make some, both maybe 4-cable and as well as effect only to be used with an amp presets for the Helix and the Helix HX effects. I think that would be a good thing. I mean, there's no doubt. Okay. All right. Moving down. I grew up playing CBS area tellies with those super low frets, says Ben. Yeah, that makes sense. We were talking about fret size earlier and what you're comfortable on playing growing up. Yeah, scalloped frets for the ultimate big fret, says L. Scott Music. Lauren, I scalloped a neck once. I had a Strat Plus from 1988, and it was seafoam green. I scalloped that neck. I took the what do they call those files? The really gnarly one, and went at it. I probably did it a little too much. It was I got a little aggressive with it. But nonetheless, it was pretty cool the way it turned out. And I did sell the guitar and got my money out of it later on. Somebody wanted it. So I made my own Ingve Strat, basically. Prince Westerberg says, best to let the filaments warm up. If you leave an amp on standby, it does nothing for tone. So that's to do with capacitors, which work on the HT supply. Also, an amp on standby starts stripping the anodes. Some good advice there. So I think you're saying basically better to turn off the amp rather than leave it on standby too long, and also to let it warm up for maybe 20, 30 seconds. Thanks for that, Prince Westerberg. I appreciate it. Evan says he had a Hamer double cut back in the day. My first really good guitar. It got stolen. Oh, that's a sad story. I remember those guitars. Sorry to hear that. Do I prefer to commit to recording using delay and reverb pedals or add these effects later with plugins, says Chris. It really depends. I did some stuff on my record where I had delay running out of the aux and it was running post amp, and I still printed it because it sounded cool. Generally speaking, if I'm making a record or something, or I'm doing a song to release, I'll leave it till the mix. Unless it's like an Echoplex thing running in front of the amp and it's a signature part of the amp tone or a core part of the amp tone, like a slapback coming from a tape delay or something in front of the amp, then I got no problems with printing that. That's the only way to get that sound, really. But I would say 80% of the time or 90% of the time, if the delay is post amp, why print it when you can just do it and it's going to sound pretty much exactly the same. If you just do it in the mix, and you've just got more control when it comes to mix time. Okay. What's my favorite guitar now? Says John. My signature guitar has really just been my main. That's what I pick up when I got to go to work. I grab that one. As it should be, right? Would you trade your 2003 Gibson ES3033? I don't have one. Oh, you're saying in theory if I had one. That's Tons Kings. You're saying would I trade my 2003 ES333 if I have one, and a Les Paul Jr. from 2019 for a Gibson Les Paul Custom? Sounds like not really a fair trade. I mean, a Gibson Les Paul Custom, is it like a custom shop one, or is it a regular line one? Because then I would probably sell both those guitars and then buy the Les Paul Custom with the money. Would probably be a better use of your cash. You're going to end up with cash left over, I would think. Your 2003 ES333 is probably worth as much as that custom used, I would think. It depends on the custom, though. If it's a 68 historic reissue or whatever, it's going to be worth more, and then it's probably a fair trade. I guess the Junior is not an expensive guitar, right? I mean, it's probably an $800-900 guitar or something. But anyways, why you mumble? It's hard to dig. What am I mumbling? I'm not really mumbling. It's just the sound of my voice. Most people like my voice. They say, you should be in radio. Am I mumbling? I don't know. I see the mic clipping every now and then, so I really can't turn it up any louder. And there's no way to do compression because my microphone is. Let's give Samson a plug. I use this every week. I've grown to really enjoy it. This is the mic I use, which is a G-Track Pro large diaphragm condenser microphone from Samson. And it just clipped. I saw the red light come on. So I can't turn it up anymore. If I could, I would have compression on this and it would make everything more in your face. But anyways, that was Philippe. French Philippe. Complaining just like the French do. Go on strike. I'm just kidding, Philippe. I got to poke a little fun at you. Come on. Got to poke a little fun at you. I'm going to France again soon. I'm looking forward to it. France and Belgium. I'll be at in Paris, in Pigalle, doing a clinic. 19th, I think, of September. That's off the top of my head. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's the 19th. Come out and see me if you're in Paris. I don't want to assume you're in Paris. That'd be silly, just because your name's Philippe. But you might be. That's like the Canadian thing where people are like, oh, you're from Canada. Do you know Joe so-and-so? Everybody assumes that we all know each other up there. Somebody's in the top chat. Who's that? That is Rented. Thanks so much for doing that, man. He says Here's a little incentive for you to go down to your local dog or cat, or incentive. I see incentive for you to go down to your local dog or cat animal rescue and give somebody a home. That's nice, man. That is really the way to do it, isn't it? You got to go to the rescue, um, and that's really cool. I appreciate that, dude. It'd be hard for me though, like because for example, I'm leaving for a month, or not quite a month, but almost, to go and do my run of clinics and stuff. So I come in and out of town, and it's tough for me, and I just don't want to be unfair to a pet, part of my career. Once I'm, like, okay, that's enough travel, at least, on a regular basis when it comes to my life, it'll be easier. And I definitely think it'll be something that I won't have any qualms about doing. Let's see. Who are you guys? Click Daily UK is in the top chat. Hello, this Click Daily UK live, speaking about you live at Click Daily UK. That sounds odd, but anyways, you're in Europe. You're not in the UK. Oh, no, you are in the UK. Sorry, looking at your denomination there. I don't know what that is, but thanks anyway. I appreciate it for doing the top chat. A USA V hammer with boomerangs is money, says ST. I mentioned earlier, I must be so far back in the chat, but I mentioned earlier I had a hammer chaparral. It was fuchsia. And way back in the day, and I had those boomerang inlays. Rev D20 thoughts, says Glenn. Well, it's a simpler amp than my PT15. It's an amp, the other one that came out at NAMM, that had impulse responses and a load built in. It's a one channel, and I haven't tried it, so I'm friends with the Rev folks. They make nice stuff, but I can't actually really comment on it because I've never plugged into it, so I'm not too sure about it. Acme brand, excuse me, says, Pete, why don't treble boosters play nice with buffers? The reason is because many of them are germanium. Wow, creaky chair. Many of them are germanium transistors that they use, the old treble boosters, which is the same issue that you're going to find with the original germanium fuzz face. Somebody told me it's something to do with something else besides the germanium, though, and some silicon ones do it as well, like fuzz faces. But anyways, treble boosters use those germanium transistors, and they have a certain thing going on with the basically, essentially what it is the circuit is formed between the guitar pickups and the pedal when you use a pedal like that, in layman's terms. And when you roll down the volume on the guitar, it interacts with the pedal in a unique way. If you put a buffer in the middle of that, it lowers the impedance, and the pedal wants to see a high impedance. It wants to see a high impedance out from your guitar pickups and your guitar electronics. And that's part of the magic of the controls of the guitar and the pickups and stuff interacting with that pedal. That high impedance output coming from your guitar going into the pedal is part of the sound. So when you just lower the impedance with a buffer and send that signal into the treble boosters, they kind of freak out and they don't really sound right. They don't know what to do with that. And they're, generally speaking, they're really unpleasant sounding. So that's why you can't use them with a wireless either, like really, that's why you'll see Brian May use a treble booster on his guitar strap, right? Taped to the strap or whatever, because the treble booster's got to come right after the guitar, and then you'll take that and plug it into the wireless and take that out to the amps and stuff, and that's just part of it. It's part of how it works. No free lunch. And even if it did sound good, like for example, if you want to make it kind of work, the Mission volume pedal, their buffered volume pedal, has a switch on it that allows you to raise the impedance enough that it'll work with fuzzes as well with treble boosters and stuff like that, and the signal's still buffered to some degree. So it just brings up that impedance to a point where the fuzzes in the treble booster doesn't sound so weird. But you're still going to lose the magic of the volume rolling up because that impedance is going to stay constant coming out of the Mission. Part of the magic is it changing, as I understand, when you roll the volume up and down on the guitar, and that's why fuzz faces and treble boosters do such that magic cleanup thing. That's why Brian May's tone is so cool with an AC30 normal channel, which is woolly as hell, on 10 with that Rebel treble booster boosting into it. if the guitar is on 10 and the amp's on 10, and that's you're getting quite a significant gain boost coming out of that pedal, it's really gainy. But if you just roll the volume down on the guitar, it cleans up magically and turns into, like, for example, the sound that I in the video that I did with the treble booster, the Brian May guitar and the AC30. And I was playing Tie Your Mother Down. I've got the guitar on about 2, the volume on the guitar, so it's the guitar output is really quite weak, and it's getting boosted by the treble booster, and there's an impedance thing going on with the volume of the guitar, with the way that it's just this magic range that you find on there, hitting the amp while it's on 10. And this is part of I did a little bit. It's got nothing to do with buffers or treble boosters, but also the amps in the zone video I did with the super reverb, where I turned my strat down to like 5 or whatever, and I've got the super cranked up. This is how everybody used to play. They used to use the controls on the guitar a lot more, be it Jimmy Page or John Shanks. I remember him saying, like, he's a big Jimmy Page head. And he's like, he's never with all the volumes on the guitar on 10 on like a Les Paul. He lives in the middle. And then it's all about rolling those 2 volume controls up and down to vary the tone. And it's constantly changing. And it's not, and these days everybody just kind of turns it on 10, and then they use pedals, to kind of get the sounds. But yeah, really cranked up amps with a lot of the beauty of it is you get that dynamic range and all that variety of tone by having the amp really, like, it's ready to blast, nice and loud, be it the AC30 or a super or whatever you got. And then the volume turned down on the guitar, maybe hitting it with a fuzz or various pedals every now and then, but then you got all that range on the guitar. And if you want to get loud, it's magic, man. That's part of the reason why people like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and why he connected so much, because he would use the volume control on the, you think about, it's not like he was changing his amp sound for Lenny, when he play that stuff live, you just get the other pickup, and it's all about the hitting the pedal. And that's why when it comes time to play the solo and he hits the bridge pickup and the volume comes up or whatever, and maybe he hits a pedal live, and then rolls back down, goes back to the glassy, beautiful thing. It's like, that's where it's so captivating, it pulls the listener in. It's not boring, I can get bored by volume on 10 all the time. I'm a big volume control guy. All right, that's my diatribe about that crap. Chris Cam says, Into Focus is a killer track. Thanks. That's the first song off Pete Thorn 2. And indeed, that main guitar tone is a treble booster. It's SL68, I think. Which guitar did I use? I think it's my Sir Telly, the butterscotch one. And I'm using a treble booster into the SL68 for the main snarly kind of rhythm guitar part on there. I love treble boosters. They are cool. All right. Hey, Pete, do you have experience with Wolfgang style guitars? Yeah, I have one here. I use it a lot. It's in a lot of my videos. I can't decide on what to get, Wolfgang Special or Standard or even a Music Man Axis. Was hoping you'd have some insight. I think they're all pretty cool. They're all really similar to me, to tell you the truth. You got to play them and see what you like. I love those old original Music Mans. But mine is an original, like 2008 or 9 Wolfgang. And I've got it here and I use it all the time. It's great. I love the pickups in them are really cool. It's not normally my thing, but they're a hotter. I think they were in 14K. I actually know the guy that winds the pickups, or did the original wind that came up with the pickups for those, because he was at Fender then. He works at Sir now. His name's Seiki. And yeah, it's a really cool guitar. I used it on Perplexed from my first album, and it's on a bunch of my videos and stuff. Any videos of a really clean sound from the PT15? So far, I've only heard a dirty clean in your videos. I mean, if you listen to the really, I mean, what about the clean sounds in the clean video that I did for it? Is that dirty clean to you? I don't know. I think there's some clean sounds. I mean, for me anyway. You want to get cleaner than that. I mean, have you listened to the reverb that I did recently, the Fox Gear reverb video? I'm using it in that. Playing quite clean. Pretty darn clean. With the reverb running right into the front of the amp. Yeah. I see people say sometimes they're like, Pete Thorn's idea of clean isn't mine, but I'm like, well, I don't know. I've got the gain on like 3 or 4 on the amp, and it depends on how, maybe it's fret buzz or something people perceive as being dirty. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I know Tim Pierce always says he's like, my clean is always kind of dirty, and then I roll back on the volume. He cranks up the amps and uses a volume pedal a lot of times to clean up, and then he sometimes lays in because in the track, a little bit of overdrive, always it kind of vanishes or something. And just the amp just sounds better when it's got a little juice on it. I don't know. And then you throttle back on the volume a bit. Cody Carrig. Hey Pete, I'm moving to LA soon. Any tips on places to live or spots to visit? Well, it depends what you want. Nowhere in LA has it all, and it's pretty spread out. So, I would spend a little bit of time. I can give you a crash course, like right now, depending on what you want and what you're going to want to do. And it changes, LA changes. I would say, like, I spent my first while living kind of Universal Burbank, close to Hollywood. I like that neighborhood a lot actually over there. So that kind of sort of segues into the Toluca Lake. That's a nice neighborhood. Toluca Lake Burbank is pretty good value and actually like a nice neighborhood. And there's enough stuff to do around there, and it's mellow compared to over the hill in Hollywood, where it's just busy, busy, busy. So depending on if you want to be in a scene, there's over the hill in Hollywood, and it can be kind of just I don't know. To me, it's just a lot of traffic and there's more crime in it, and it's cool. Like I still like to go there and stuff. It's fun, but it's just a little crazy over there. Um, so Studio City, Sherman Oaks area is another one similar to Toluca, like a little busier. And I really like it there. I lived in for many years in Studio City at different times. So if you think about kind of the intersection of Laurel Canyon and Ventura Boulevard, and that whole zone right there is there's tons of, one thing that I love in LA is if you can find a neighborhood where you don't always have to drive, if you can leave the car parked and then walk from your place to some stuff, it just makes me enjoy my life more. So that means the post office, the grocery store, some bars, some restaurants, some breakfast spots, a little bit of shopping, the pharmacy, all that stuff. If I can not have to drive, that's pretty special. And that area right in Studio City right there is pretty cool for that. Sherman Oaks is similar. If you can live close to the boulevard, to Ventura Boulevard, I mean, and live a block off of there or something, and or 2 blocks, a close walk or a bike ride or something, you can get all your shopping done and restaurants and stuff, and you never need to go over the hill if you don't have to. Some other cool neighborhoods. I mean, uh, up by the Hollywood sign, kind of that Beechwood Canyon zone is pretty damn cool. And there's some similar, like there's that whole area around there. People who live in LA will know there's like the coffee shop that's right there. Can't remember the name of it, but where Birds is or used to be, that restaurant, and the Japanese place there. And there's a Gelson's right there, I think. And anyway, you're right, kind of on the border of Los Feliz and Hollywood, really. Los Feliz is cool too. That's a really cool neighborhood. Once again, still a little busier and stuff than over the hill, though. That's why I think Toluca Lake's kind of magic. It's sort of like it's just a little more mellow. Studio City. Okay, where else? Pasadena is great. It's a city unto itself. It's a drive from everything, but not that far. If there's no traffic, it's 20 minutes. I'm in the valley where I sit right now, and Pasadena is 20 minutes from here, with no traffic. Um, so if you drive at the right times of day, and it's a really cool town. Pasadena is like a nice, self-contained, you never need to leave, lots of stuff to do there, lots of food to eat, places to go, shopping, all that good stuff. I lived for years in Santa Monica, spent about 6 years out there, loved it, really expensive. But if you can find a place, kind of worth it. If you love being by the beach, it's amazing. I loved riding my bike out there. I would leave the car parked and ride my bike just about everywhere. Loved that. That was great. I was 6 blocks from the beach for 3 or 4 years out there, and I could, literally, oh, the sun's going down like that. You guys remember like the studio where I did a whole bunch of the early pedal demos and stuff was like it was like a little house kind of, and that was Santa Monica, and I was 6 blocks. So literally I'd see the sun go down there and I'd be like, I'm gonna go check out the sunset, and I could either walk or bike there, and I'd be looking at the ocean in 5 minutes from where I was living right there. That was cool. Downside, trying to get to Hollywood or something, especially during the day, forget about it. It's a nightmare. You kind of got to go. If you live in Santa Monica or in Venice or something, you're on the west side and you got to get over to either the Valley or to Hollywood. You better leave at 1:30 or 2 p.m. at the absolute latest. If you wait till 2:30 or 3 p.m., you are screwed. You're going to sit in traffic for so long. And that pretty much is that between the hours of, say, 2 and 8 p.m., it's gnarly trying to get out of Santa Monica because a lot of people go there to work, but they don't live there. So all the roads leading out to go back to, say, Hollywood or back over into the Valley or back to whatever are just crammed, you know? So that's tough. You're kind of stuck over there. And friends, if you know them in Hollywood and stuff, they're like, "Oh, you live in Santa Monica? Well, I'll see you next year sometime." They never drive out there to come see you. That's what I found. But it is great. I love living out there, and I do miss it. Maybe someday I'll go back because it is a nice place to, the air is better and it's not as hot. And it's just nice living by the beach. If you live in California, it's cool. Downtown's really cool now. There's a bunch of great stuff over there. Highland Park, super cool. I'm actually enjoy hanging out there a lot these days. And it's, getting gentrified like everywhere else. But the whole Eagle Rock, Highland Park, kind of two strips, Figueroa and York. And, one goes east-west, one goes north-south. And there's some cool stuff along each of those. Have some fun spots to go. So check out Highland Park, and you can use Yelp to pretty much find the cool stuff. I love the Highland Park Bowl. Check that place out if you guys ever come to LA. It's the oldest bowling alley in LA. I think it's like 100 years old, more. It was like 1905 or I don't know, something like that. And it's gorgeous. And they got great pizza, and there's 3 bars in there. And it's a fun place you don't have to go bowling. It's a fun place to just go have a drink, have some pizza. There's one room that has bands, and it's really fun. It is hot as hell in here, and I've got the Nest app on my phone, so I'm going to change that while I talk. So that's fun. Other fun spots to check out in Highland Park are like the York. It's just a kind of bar. There's great music going on there generally, and it's fun. Town Pizza in Highland Park, great pizza. Where is that app? I'm burning up. I don't know. Here, open Nest app. Thanks for bearing with me here, folks. I'm sweating. Connect. What else would I recommend? What else? Another favorite haunt of mine lately is in Pasadena is the Luggage Room. That's a good pizza place in Santa Monica. I dig it. Okay, how do I do this? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's why. It's on some sort of weird eco mode. How can I change this? Stop eco. I just heard it start. Isn't that amazing? Cool. Hot back here. What else, folks? That's enough about that. Check out some of those spots. Everybody knows that my Studio City hangs. I just go to Laurel Tavern all the time. I love that place. Good people, nice hang. I like simple places, I don't know about you guys, but going out, I don't need like to stand in line to get in anywhere or any of that stuff. I'm old enough that it's just like, screw that. I want to go to a place where I know people, where everybody knows your name. I want to go to a spot that's just kick back, get a little food, maybe have a drink, enjoy myself, and then go back home. Okay. What else we got here? Oh, I'll tell you about my favorite beach towns. Favorite Southern California beach towns that look like a postcard are Laguna Beach and La Jolla. Nice spots. La Jolla's a little snooty, but it sure is beautiful. And Laguna Beach is a little snooty, but less snooty, kind of arty. You might see Phil Collin there from Def Leppard. He lives there. It's a beautiful spot. Maybe I'll try and retire there. Those are my favorite Southern California beach towns. If you want to know about a great beach in Southern California that not a lot of people go to and they don't know about it, and it's so amazing, El Matador. Go check that out. God, it's gorgeous. A lot of people go there and shoot photos because there's these rocks and cliffs, and it's really cool. Look it up. Look for pictures of El Matador, and you'll see. Come to LA, it's gorgeous. It's just north of town, a little bit close to Zuma Beach, and Malibu. It's not far, 10 minutes from Malibu. Okay, that's my travel guide. Buzz says it was the 80s. Jackson, Kramer, Charvel, Ibanez were killing Fender in sales, weren't they? It's true. I mean, those are all the guitars and the instruments that I played. Sasha Boo Boo's in the top chat. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. One guitar I've never owned is an Ibanez. I don't know why. I just never had one. I'd like a Joe Satriani Ibanez someday. I would. I grew up on Ibanez RGs, says Stephen Douglas. 6100s feel like home. I know, I agree. Totally. Leo says he slammed his middle finger in a car door. Dude, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know when I can play again. That's horrible, dude. I hope you're back up and running before long. Sorry to hear that. What's the best method to split the guitar signal and route to 2 or more amps or effects change? Says Savvy Simbuent. There's a number of different ways to do it. The twin bones is the first thing that came to mind from Radial. It's a very easy to use, readily available AB box that you could buy online. That's buffered because you want to buffer. Anytime you split, you're splitting the signal. You don't want to send a little bit here and a little bit there. You want a strong 100% signal going to each place, and you need a buffer to do that. And you need something that's got a ground lift, because you're going to have 2 pass to ground now with the 2 amplifiers hooked up and their respective grounds. So you got to break the ground on one of those safely. Best to do that on the audio connection, and the twin bones will do that. You just lift the side going to the B amp. It'll work really good. Other ways to do it, if you don't need the AB, if you want to leave the amps on all the time, both of them, you could use the Sur ISO buffer thing. It's just a little black box that's got an input and 2 outs. Yeah, and it's got the isolation transformer to break the ground on the one side, and it's also got a phase switch. Yeah, that's the other thing to consider, is that the amps might be out of phase with one another. So you need the main things are a buffer, phase switch, and isolation transformer for ground lift that you need in order to do the 2 amp thing separately, successfully is what I should say. Alrighty. I think I'm going to go down to the bottom of the chat here, guys, because I'm so far back, and I'm really sorry if I missed anything. Or at least I'll go far down. And yeah. Okay. So Rob's talking about my recommendations a little bit. Santa Monica, Brentwood, Pacific Palisades are nicest places if you're in SoCal by the beach, but if you can afford it. Yeah, it's great. If you got to, it's just like, a big part of it is like you'll live in a place in LA and you'll get to work somewhere else where you find yourself driving all the time. Like, for example, when I used to work at Linda Perry's, there's no way I could have lived in Santa Monica, because she'd call and say, "Can you be over here in half an hour? I got so-and-so coming in." And I'd be like, "Okay," because I was in Studio City. So that's the concern, is like sometimes it just doesn't work, to live out there. And I did find I felt like I'd moved out of LA actually when I lived in Santa Monica. I'd drive to Hollywood and there'd be some new building going up I hadn't seen before, that it'd be almost finished from the last time I'd driven there, and I'd feel like, man, it's like I moved out of LA and I live in a different city now. I don't really feel like that living in other spots, I tend to get into Hollywood more and stuff like that. Adam says, F Long Beach. He doesn't like Long Beach. I kind of like Long Beach. It kind of reminds me of Pasadena a little bit. I don't know if it's as cool, but it's far. That's the only thing. But I don't mind it. The times that few times I've spent down there. I don't know. Yeah. L. Scott Music, Lauren, he says he used to live on the beach in Ventura. That was great times. Yeah, it's always like you look back on it and go, man, that was pretty good. Ventura's a nice town. I heard Martha Davis used to live up there from the motels. I used to play with her back in like 97. I played with Martha Davis for a while. You remember? It's like I told you, only the lonely. The motels. And Martha, she used to live in Ventura, and I used to go up there and rehearse and play with her sometimes all over LA. But anyways, it was a nice town. And they used to call it Santa Barbara's ugly little sister. It's not quite as nice as Santa Barbara, but it's cool. It's less expensive and it's got a vibe, and it's a nice place. I actually looked up there when I was looking around for places to buy. I thought, I wonder if I could deal with living as far away as Ventura, but I don't think I could, not at this point. But it's cool. 4K a month, says Tom. His buddy pays in San Francisco for rent for a small studio. Isn't that crazy? It's just so expensive. All the tech stuff everybody's making, starting at $250K a year, and all these, and they're willing to pay like $3,500 a month for a little apartment or whatever. It just drives everybody out. It's tough. else we got here? Do you know Gretchen Men? What an amazing talent. I do. That's Tim. Yeah, I've hung out with Gretchen. She's real cool. Um, she's really, really nice. Great guitar player. I like Gretchen a lot. She's super cool. Riverside County, says Kevin. Lots of people live out there, and I mean, it's not far from the folks at Sur in Elsinore, Corona, that whole, out that way, and as far down as, I guess Temecula, right? Now you're getting into an hour and a half out of LA, and it really isn't LA at all, is it? But it's nice out there, and it's more reasonable. The cost of living is get a place for less. Let's see. What else we got here? Commute is terrible, says Kevin. From Long Beach, I guess you mean. I think you were mentioning Long Beach. Okay. What else we got here? We got out of guitar stuff. I'm gonna move down, look for Joe Harvey. He says digital amps that do cranked Marshall, etc., having a full sound but at least volume option is a great selling point. My Viper goes. Sorry, I guess it's not a question. You're just kind of saying something about digital amps. It got into that thing where everybody's talking amongst themselves, so I'm just looking for another question, as it should be. Monterey or Carmel, says Scott. Those are some beautiful towns, that's for sure. I want to go to Carmel sometime soon. How long does it take to get from my home to the studio? It's like 20, 25 minutes, something like that. 20 minutes. Depends on traffic. It's not far. I was a little late today. I think I started this at 11:20. Said I was going to start at 11:15, but I left at 10:48 from home, I remember. And I got here pretty fast, and I had a couple things to do right when I got here. So I probably made it in 20 minutes. Yeah. Let's see. Rhett Scholl was here, or is here. What's up, man? Braxall wants to know what I think about the Waza tube expander. I haven't updated mine yet. I do have one here, and there's an update for the IRs in it, which I would have to do because we discovered that problem with it and stuff like that. I'm real sensitive about load boxes. And without going into detail, too much detail, I'll just say that I'm a big fan of the best load box on the market is the Sur reactive load in my mind. That's just my opinion. You can't like everything, as much as everything else and all that kind of stuff. In my mind, and I really believe this to be true. How can I say this? It's one of the load should represent what a speaker does. Okay, tuning the sound of an amplifier by tuning the load, I don't really want to do that. When Sir set out to make a load box, what he set out to do was duplicate the response of a certain speaker in a cabinet. So in other words, there's ways to measure this stuff, and you can look at it and see what the impedance curve is. And if you look at the impedance curve, if you know how to do that stuff and you have the right measuring equipment, the reactive load from the Sur looks exactly like a greenback in a 412 cabinet. You can lay the plot of those on top of one another and see it. And that's also, when it comes to obviously when you're talking about a load, there's a reason for a load on an amplifier, which isn't just, the speaker is usually functioning as the load, and it's taking all that energy the amplifier is putting out and expelling it as energy, as sound. And the relationship of the speaker and the amplifier is important to not only the sound, but to me also, you don't want to maybe mess with that because you were talking about the health of your amplifier, right? So when the loads don't look like an exact speaker curve, which most of them don't. out there in the market? It's sort of an open question, you know? So for me, just the load, like, you don't wanna tune the sound of your amplifier by changing the load necessarily. Now, this is something that if we go back to, like, let's say, Eddie Van Halen, uh, maybe using a 30 ohm load or a 20 ohm load, something like that, with an amplifier set at 8 ohms, it might have a sound, right? And it might be a really cool sound. It's different than, say, a 16 ohm amp set at 16 ohms and having a 16 ohm load resistor where it's matched. The sound changes when you've got the amplifier at 8 and a 30 ohm load or something like that. It changes. Uh, but is it good for the amp? That kind of thing. So all I know is that when it comes to load boxes, I think just for the health of the amplifier and the sound that I'm used to of the amp coming through a speaker cabinet, I think it's best to have the load be exactly representing the speaker cabinet that I'm used to using. This is why I have an amp that has that load in it. Let's keep in mind that PT15 has a surreactive load built in, and it's modeled after the greenback in a 412. That's what the load curve looks like, and that's what I prefer. There's other great load boxes out there in the market, but to be honest, I actually haven't seen. Okay, there's one other one, but I don't know. I'm going to stop talking about it right now because I don't want to talk out of turn. But that's the main thing that I think is the best thing for the tone, as well as potentially the amplifier. Is pushing into that thing, and I want that thing. I want the amp to respond, sound, and think it's still plugged into the cabinet, because that's what that output transformer is designed to do. And I'm going to leave it at that. Mike is in the top chat, and he says, enjoyed the clinic at Austin Guitar House. Thanks, man. Thanks for going. Thanks for doing the top chat. Says, good to meet you. Tweaked my tremolo after seeing your setup on the red PT signature guitar. Working better, parallel to the body. I have it actually in mine. It's sitting just a little bit tilted forward, barely. And the reason for that is what I do is I like to pull up a whole step on the G and a half step on the B string. Whole step on the third string, half step on the second string. And to do that, I find I have to set that tremolo just tilt. I mean, it's like, so I'll actually sit with a tuner and move the springs in the back and tune the guitar and then adjust the springs in the back of the guitar. And it takes a while because it's like you loosen that thing just a little and then you retune and then you look, oh, now it's going a little sharp when I pull, and then you got to tighten it, so. But that's how I set mine up, and I just like it like that. And then I've got this predictable whole step on the G string where I can always pull it up, or a half step on the B. And it just seems to work really well for me. So that's how I do mine. But yeah, it works good. Now, an old Strat, if you look at the original Fender documentation and stuff like that, the stuff they used to ship with the guitars and like on how to set up the guitars and so this is going back to like 54. I guess that they show the tremolo like this, and that's kind of how Jeff Beck uses his. And it feels really comfortable actually with the trem leaning way forward and having the bar down like that. And then you got all that pull up, and that's kind of what Scott Henderson does too. A lot of pull up on the bar. And it seems to stay in tune great. On my old Strat, it's the tuning stability is really good for an old vintage trem, I have to say, with it set like that. So that's the way I've got that one set up. Just do a little bit differently on that guitar. Now let's see what else we got here. SD Design says, any Gwen Stefani fans in the house? My friend Lisa plays with Gwen. She's a great guitar player. She's been doing her show in Vegas and stuff for a while. Somebody's up in the top chat there, and they're from Europe. It's Leon. He says, the Badger 35 is my favorite amp by a good bit. To save me from going down the rabbit hole, is this the best amp in its class, or anything else in its vein that could be considered an upgrade? I don't think so. I think it's a unique amplifier that basically sounds like a double power 18, and it does that really nice, it's cathode bias. It's got that kind of warm, slightly compressed sound and feel, and it lives in that edge of breakup thing. And it's got a kind of it's got clarity, but it's not a bright AC30 thing. It's not really that chimey Vox thing, is it? It's got its own thing going on. It'll take pedals really well. They're great amps, the Badgers. And you say it's your favorite amp by a good bit. Why don't even question it? Just use what you like, and play more music, Once again, that Tom Morello thing about how he just set his amp controls the way he liked them and his pedals and went, that's my sound. And I don't even think he was that happy with the sound. He said it wasn't the greatest sound. It just sounded pretty good. And then he learned how to work with it and write songs using it. If you like your amp and it's your favorite amp by a good bit, don't question it. That's what I think. If you're not searching, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Rhett, everyone was talking about your Plek video, says Adam earlier in the chat. I don't know he did a Plek video. I'd like to see that. That would be cool. Gotta check that out. Tim Barry says, turn around, your curtains caught fire. I don't have curtains, so, and if that had happened, I'd be burned up a long time ago. Because it takes so long to get to the comments. Always wanted to live in Santa Cruz, says no cover charge, back in the 70s. Yeah, I've only spent a little bit of time up there. I had fun there, but I haven't been there a lot. Who else we got here? Let's see. I'm scared to drive too far north on PCH, says Jennifer. The geography still bugs me out. No, don't be scared. Just go slow and stay in the right lane and enjoy yourself up there. It's so cool. Okay. What's my favorite Overdrive pedal, says SJ. I don't have a favorite per se, but if you look at my board, I've got an Archer on there that I'd love, which is the one with the Jeff Beck mods that Rocket sent me, and it's cool. It's really good drive. So I use that a lot. This Revival Drive Compact sounds amazing that I'm going to do a demo of today. I'm going to work on the video today for that. That's from Origin. It's a good one that comes to mind. I've also got an Ecstasy Blue on my board. I think it does a great Marshall-y thing. It's a really nice pedal. Is Sean's here? Sean Tubbs is in the house today. He says he's had a couple Ibanez guitars. Steve Lukather model. I remember that. Remember the ad with the blue one? It's like a sunburst blue. Wow, that's cool, dude. Did he ever play it? I remember they did an artist model with them, and I saw the ad, but I don't think I ever saw him use it outside of that. Cool looking guitar, though. I like those Roadstars from the early 80s with the flame tops on them, and they had the kind of like the slightly pointed blower horn. Those were cool looking guitars, and I remember the necks being really nice on them. The old Artist 335, they were nice guitars too. The Ibanez sort of 335 style, pretty cool. That's cool, Sean. Was yours blue? I wonder if you're still here. I'd love to know that. I love the blue burst finish. It was cool. Do you still pull out the Kelly once in a while? I haven't mentioned the Kelly for a while. It's such a good amp, man. It's right now I've got it sitting just outside the door there, but it is a great amp. Just too many amps, not enough time is what it is. So many great amps. Who else we got here? Well, the chat jumped to the end. So, and I think I got to split pretty soon anyway, because it's about 1:20. So I'm going to take a few more and I'm going to split in like 5 minutes. Sean is still here, I think. Let me go to the end of the chat and see if he let us know if he had the Blue Burst, Steve Lukather model or not. Mr. Sweet is asking me if I'm going to Anderton's. Well, in the UK, I think so. I think that's happening. I'm not 100% sure of my schedule. If you look, all the clinics are on my Instagram as well as on my Facebook page now. There's a list there of all the main sort of spots that I'm hitting. I might be doing, I know I'm going to do a video with the captain. That's going to happen. So that's a thing. It is a thing that's happening. Okay. Let's see. Jump into the end here. Sean was talking about living in Orange, but I can't quite find the post. Justin's asking a question about holding a pick. I hold the pick kind of weird. I think it's because I can't find a comfortable way to hold the pick, says Justin. Well, watch people that do great videos on it like Paul Gilbert, for example, that, you know, in his early videos, and see if you can copy their technique when it comes to how they hold the pick. I mean, I just hold it between the thumb and first finger, much like that, you know. Oh, where's the guitar pick? You know, that's it, really. Just that kind of thing. And then I'm lower down on the pick or further up, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm playing rhythm guitar, I've probably got more of the pick exposed. And if I'm doing something really quick, I tend to get closer to the tip and kind of tend to hold the pick like that. And just kind of, the main thing with speed is just really quick. The main thing with speed, I think, is to lighten up and less, like, more efficient motion. So I'm only using the very tip of the pick. There, I'm leaning into it more and using more of the pick. But if I'm playing fast, you can hear it's just like, it's kind of quieter because I'm barely hitting the string. It's just the very tip of the pick that's hitting the string. You know, that's how I do it anyway. You know, I'm closer to the tip. Not warmed up, but if I'm playing fast, that's how I do it. I tend to pick lighter with more just the tip of the pick. And I would say practice doing that, like efficient motion, where you know, when you play lighter, don't flail around and use more of the pick, because it creates more tension and more, you know, range of motion and more friction from the string hitting more of the pick and that kind of thing. You don't really need it when you're trying to play fast. Going to the end of the chat. What are you guys talking about? Did Sean tell us? I was so interested about his Steve Lukather Ibanez. Steve Lucifer says insane music. I love the Archer into my 71 metal panel Marshall head, says Tom. Yeah, a Klon, and, you know, the Archer Klon style drive into a any kind of Marshall situation is a good thing, you know, just a great thing. I agree. That's what mine is there, 71 metal panel, same deal. Maybe 72. I always say that amp's a 71, but it might be 72. I guess I should look at the serial number and nail it down. Not that it really matters. They're all the same. If it's tuned in to the super lead circuit and all that stuff, you know, they're not all the same, but you know what I mean. If they sound good, it doesn't matter. Okay, guys, I'm going to split pretty soon. Somebody's asking me what audio interface I use for recording. Here in the studio, it's an Apollo 8P from Universal. I've also got an Apollo Twin, and I love it. Let's see here. Sasha Boo Boo's up there in the top chat. He says, "Hey, Pete, if you get a chance, please check out Always On with Strings. Please don't hate it." That's a video on your channel, I think. I will check it out. Please don't hate it. I'm not a hater, man. You know that about me. I don't hate on anyone unless they're jerks or bullies. No, I'll hate freely. I hate with reckless abandon, but I don't like to hate. It's not a good thing. More love, less hate. Rock and roll, says SD Design. Thank you. BM High Gain says, any tours coming up? I do have a tour to announce pretty soon. Yes, I'm going to be doing in January, going over to jam with some friends in the UK, but I won't. I'll save that for later because it's not for another few months. And basically, the main tour I'm doing is my tour of Europe, which isn't a gig tour but a clinic tour. So that's the main thing. Really, my first solo tour. It just happens to not be of clubs or whatever. It happens to be stores where I'm going to sit there and track and do some recording. So it's just a different kind of tour, but a tour nonetheless. That'll keep me busy September and October. And Braxall says, I appreciate the time you take with us on Sundays. I appreciate you being here too, always. And during the week with the videos. Thanks, man. Thank you so much. And what else? What else? Anybody here just at the end? I don't think so. It's kind of it for questions. All right, you guys. You're all too kind, and have a great week. Oh, so next week I'm going to be traveling Sunday. So Sunday's not going to happen. Monday night instead, and I'll put posts on my Facebook and stuff to remind everybody about that. But I'll do the thing where I do it Monday evening. I'll be back then. So we'll do a Monday. I think what I've done in the past is 6 or 7 p.m., which may or may not work for folks if they're in Europe. I guess it'd be first thing in the morning Tuesday for them. But works good for people in States and Canada, and sometimes Australia and stuff like that. Can be even better, I think. So okay, so we'll see you next week on Monday instead of on Sunday. You guys have a terrific week. Watch out for video this week of the revival drive. I'm going to try and get one more done before I go as well. But that's coming soon. And over and out. Peace. Everybody have a great week. Thanks for being here as always. I really appreciate it. See you guys. And anybody that was at the clinics this week, thanks for coming out. It was really great meeting you all.